Hello from the other room.
Hey,
Just waving to everybody in here. We're gonna let a couple people in here.
what's up, everybody?
Brandon's got his new gear on his website, Growing Pains. You want to type your website in the chat so people can know what it is. You can go.
Uh,
Might have you show off. Hi, friend. Hi, TJ.
what's good, bro?
Hello, hello. And you can, I don't know if you can pin your comment to my thing, but hey, y'all. Hi. So, as you see tonight, we are talking about naked truth, about having intimate conversations, and who not better to have on here as my special guest than my one and only significant other for life, my soulmate. And tonight we want to, I love the kisses. Tonight we really want to help some people. One thing, somebody called me the other day and they were like, man, you're giving out some really good tips, but we need to know how to do this and stuff. And so Brandon and I actually do plan on coming out with some things in the future. And but me, of course, because that's my job, but Brandon will be assisting me. But one of the things about having naked conversations is that you have to be unclothed. And a lot of people are not okay with that. And so people don't even realize that intimacy is into me, I see. So big question for you, honey. How long did it take
Yeah.
you to understand it?
Uh, Honestly, if we're being honest, it took some years for me to like completely get it down and like work through it and be able to for us to work through it without arguing and getting through our stuff. Like, um, it took me a little minute getting through getting mad at you and really understanding what we were going through and like breaking it all down so it wouldn't happen again. I would say it took a couple years
So when you say a couple years, because a lot of people
because
see us and because
it's not just one thing. Like you have to actually break down what it is you're going through so like you can get down to the nitty gritty and get it solved. Like otherwise you're just going to keep running into the same problem, which we did in certain situations because whether it be me or you or whoever, like you got to have an understanding of there is a problem that needs to be fixed. um and that was my main thing, like coming to the realization that you are doing something wrong, whether you want to admit it or not. Like nobody wants to be wrong in any situation, but the sooner you come to that understanding that there is something that I can change, the sooner you can fix it. And that was my biggest thing. Once I realized that it was me and like certain situations and there were things that I can improve on, then that's when it clicked and I was like, okay, well, I can do this way, or she can help me figure it out and fix it so that we don't come across this again. Like, so I've said the main thing is the acknowledgement that there's something going on.
I would agree with you. And honestly, I would say for me, because a lot of women don't admit that they're part of the problem too.
It
And
takes two.
hence the, huh?
It definitely takes two.
Yes. And and it does take two, but a lot of people don't see it as that because what they do is they attack the problem that they can see in the now. And so I
But
feel like a lot of
that's funny that you say that because that usually branches off an even bigger problem. With you not even realizing it, it all stems from one major thing, and then you might have a few smaller that stem from that major issue, but relatively it's all from that same thing that you guys aren't addressing.
you're absolutely right. And I didn't understand that part of my issue was always trying to correct you, but never really showing my correction in my own behavior.
It makes it easier for that other person to want to do the work and change. Like if you're always at me and I'm like, well, damn, what are you doing? Well, show me what it looks like. Like, if I feel like you're not doing nothing, why would that make me want to do anything as far as is growing? Like, she's not putting in the work, so how she gonna come at me and ask me to do something when I'm clearly seeing that she's staying the same in her own right? Whereas if you're
Right.
actually changing and putting in the work, where I'm like, damn, well, she is setting the example for me, so why not just follow suit and make the changes myself?
Right. And I would always try to force you into that, where I would manipulate the situation because I knew that there was greater for us, but I felt like if you changed at my pace, that it could happen quickly and it would be fulfilling. But I never recognized that you had to see it for yourself so it could be sustainable and long lasting. Because there were times where I've asked you to quit things, I've asked you to stop things, and it didn't last because you didn't do it for yourself.
If your heart ain't in there, you're not gonna stick with it. So
Right.
if you don't want to do it, then you're not gonna put in the necessary effort to make sure you complete it.
Right. What do you think
That
got
was
you in? Huh?
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I said, what do you think got you into putting your heart into it? Because a lot of people get to in a relationship, even in dating, right? We've had a lot of hard things that has happened to us. And so people don't know the ins and out of our relationship, all the hurdles that we've had to have and actually have to talk about them. What committed your heart to having those hard conversations?
Um, just being honest with myself, looking in the mirror, tired of running into the same issues over and over again, knowing that it was at least 50% my fault as to how we got to where we got again. And then having my daughters looking at me every day and knowing what's going on, because they're not dumb, they're very smart. So trying to be that example for them, honestly, having them has made me want to change several things to better myself, just to set the example for them moving forward as young women in this world, you know. So I would say my kids, and just wanting to grow the fuck up, honestly. And you can't do that with something if you can look your face in the mirror and say that you haven't put in your best effort. And I did that. I asked myself, had I put in the most effort I could to fix what was going on in our relationship? And the answer was no. So I honestly couldn't give up knowing that I didn't give it my all. So I had to switch it up.
That's such a good answer. When you say, because we actually had to have that conversation a couple times where we got to a conversation where we were like, is this over?
Yeah.
And a lot of people can't make it through that conversation. Can you walk people through not necessarily what that conversation looked like to us, because it was very intimate, but how did you press on during that conversation? Because we got to express a lot of things that we didn't.
It was tough, man. But I think what made it easier for me was the realization that I actually wanted to do it. I didn't want to leave the relationship that I had spent so much time building up. I wanted to see it reach its full potential, and I knew that me leaving was going to be a result of my lack of effort, not not that there was not that we have reached our full potential in our relationship and we go our separate ways because of other things. It'd be because of the lack of effort and understanding that I chose to give to my relationship as to why would we be done. So if it was, I always wanted the reason for us, if ever there was one, for us splitting never to be the amount of effort I gave to you and wanting to understand what you needed. It would have to be something other than that. So, yeah.
That's good, babe. So God, you stumped me. Most people don't stump me. Um, that
I
was good.
try.
I want to know, like, when it came to effort, because there was a point in time where when you were in Hawaii and I was in Washington and I said something to you and you're like, I'm being a good dad. And I said, how? Like, what does that look like to you? And you were
And I
offended.
honestly thought I was though. That's the crazy thing. I thought in my head I was. That's because you get an idea of what you think something looks like, and then you strive to meet that, but that might not even be the correct version of what it is that it's supposed to be representing. So I did feel like that, but in hindsight, I know now that I lacked a bunch of shit. There was a bunch of things that I could have done to make the situation easier. But that just goes to show like the other stuff that we was going through. Like I wasn't even in the right mind state to think about that on that level. You feel me? So it was hard.
Yes, it was hard. When you got to that point when you said, okay, I got to put in some effort, and so that meant having some hard conversations. There's a lot of men and women.
Some of the hardest I've ever had, honestly, at that time.
A lot of women and men get there and they stop. What advice can we give people to say push through? Because one thing I noticed, this happened the other day, and there was something happened today, and we'll get to that because I actually want to share with people how we got through something today. Um,
Hmm.
right before this whole thing happened, so it's really funny. But what is it that you can share with people that you have to do in those conversations? Because you have to have a good ear, and you can't lead and jump to assumptions, because a lot of people avoid those conversations because they already created the ending of the story for people. So they like to author a conversation prior to it happening. And me and you used to have these things. I'm like, I can't script out what you want me to say. Like, I don't know. And if, and for me,
You gotta want it for yourself before you want it for that other person. If I'm just trying to get better for you, that's only gonna take me so far. Rather wanting the best for myself in the relationship and then you wanting to see it for you, I'm gonna give it more. Um, what was the other part you asked me?
but
I'm sorry.
what made you like, you had
Want to
to get,
keep doing it?
no, you had to get to a point where you had to listen. You weren't like, cause a lot of people there's people, cause Tammy just said they listen
That's a
to,
hard. That's a hard part of it, man. Like being vulnerable and open for some of the harshest criticism that you may ever get from the closest people to you is tough, man. But I can honestly say that it's made me better. It's made me a better father. It's made me a better husband. It's made me a better listener. You know, wanting to get to know my kids better, um, deeper on a stronger level. Because you think because you're with people every day, or you might be experiencing things with them every day, that you actually are getting that true understanding of who they are. But one thing that I have realized is that everybody is so different, man, and you got to nurture them differently. Like me having three women in my house, or I have to, it's crazy, man, because I gotta treat you guys so different, like and delicate. Like it's just it's so emotional, and there's so many levels to it. It gets nuts, but like once you get it going and you start to understand what this person likes, what makes this person tick, or what they love, man, it's nothing like that feeling of conquering that and wanting to get through more. And I feel like that's where I'm at right now, within myself and my kids and my family. Just wanting it all. I want to the fullest. I want y'all to the max. I'm trying to know everything, likes, dislikes, what you love, how can I help you do anything? I want to conquer the world with my family.
Oh, you're so sweet. Um, and everybody, first of all, Brandon does not talk much. So some of the stuff that we're getting, I'm hearing for the first time. And some's
But
not.
getting back to pushing forward and wanting to stay in a relationship, that is, man, you gotta be built for it. Honestly, you gotta have that thing in you to never quit, never give up. What am I fighting for? What do I love about my family? At the end of the day, like on some real shit, you gotta look yourself in the mirror and say, am I willing to really do anything? People say that shit, but it ain't an easy thing to do anything for the people that you love. Whether because you never think about what kind of changes that means for you.
Yes.
Like when people say that, I don't think they really think about the changes and what that looks like and what you're gonna go through. So it's crazy. But I'm in it, man. Anybody going through something, I would just say stick with it. You got with that person, whoever you with, for a reason. When you could have been with anybody else,
Mm.
and it's easy to quit. It's easy to give up on stuff, especially in the times we living in now. It's to me the stand up thing to do, the real man thing to do, is figure out where it's going wrong and what you could do to fix it, and the role that you play in that.
Yeah, that's good. When you figure that out, because like I talk about how intimacy is getting naked, and we've had to fully get unclothed. He said this nigga got bars
Bars.
today. Um, and what is one of the things that I do is the fluff or no fluff, right? And and we have to usually unfluff our things, our feelings a lot, our issues. A lot of people get to a point of the fluff or no fluff where they stop at the feelings part. Like they get to that. As a man, how can you help? What kind of tip can you give to people? Because you're a big guy, you're handsome, you have this stature about you, and people think this thing about you. But then, is there an emotional side to you? Is there a feeling side to you where you can say like, and what did it take to get there? What did it take to strip you down there to get there? And what did I have to do to allow you to get there? Because there was a lot of times where I would block you.
It took. I think it took me seeing what it did for y'all, being that open, because it's not something that's natural for me. But I see the openness that it gives, like back to me, like how open my kids are with me when I'm open with them, type things, and how good that makes me feel. Like I'm really getting to know, like the people in my life, like my children, my kids, and stuff, my wife. But I forgot the last part.
How can you, what kind of tip can you give guys to, because you guys are not trained that way to
I
do
don't.
that.
I think now, like, it's becoming a little more acceptable for dudes to show their feelings, but honestly, it wasn't a thing where, well, I know at least for me, like growing up, it wasn't something that we showed a lot, like the men in our family, like being emotional and vulnerable and stuff. Um, but holding that stuff inside ain't good for you either because it just hardens you. It makes you angry with stuff. But it's important to get your feelings out and let people know what's going on, how
What did
you
I have
feeling.
to do to allow you to do that though?
To
Because
open
there was
that up,
something that I had to
you
do.
had to stay on me. Honestly, you stayed on me. You were relentless with it. Honestly, you wouldn't settle for I don't know, or to be real with you, you wouldn't. You kind of like forced my hand for our relationship to go to that next level. I had to be more vulnerable and open up about my feelings and stuff.
Wait, but can you tell people, because people hear force your hand, and then people hear like then people know who I am and they think that I'm just like, ah, and that's not how I
Not
should
in the
treat
sense of
you.
like making me do anything, but just like always asking questions. I don't think I've ever met a person that asks more questions than you do. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that like in trying to pull things out of people and trying to learn things or get people to look at things from a different perspective. I don't think people really do that anymore. Like ask questions for a better understanding of something. Like we ask, it's just lack of knowledge.
Do you,
Um,
do you think that it was because when people hear, and I really want to listen really quick.
right. You help me. You help me super accountable.
What did that look like though? Because there's a lot of women, and I say this really quick because of I wrote Sis Is It You because there's
No,
a lot of people that
it
think that
started. It probably started when we was best talks are like when we're just chilling in a comfortable setting. Like we might be riding in the car or sitting on the couch in the room, whatever, smoking. I think like for
can you
us,
guys turn
our
your internet
best
off?
conversations are like during the most comfortable setting. Like you make it comfortable for me to open up, and I don't have a problem doing it because I'm already in that mind state, or I'm already the energy is good. A lot of people want to have conversations when it ain't the right time or the energy is bad. Y'all might be arguing already, and then you want to bring something up. Let's talk about it. If we arguing over that, then we definitely gonna be arguing over this. Like it's timing. It's timing and it's introducing stuff at the right. Like you might like, for example, you'll throw something out like 3 or 4 days prior or earlier, and then revisit it. Like when we're riding in the car, like just to test the waters, you'll toss it out there like 2 3 days just to test it out and see how I feel about it, and then revisit it. So sometimes you got to be strategic with it or whatever, and just fill your significant other out. Honestly, if you know your man, I feel like you should know not necessarily little incentives but you can kind of feel the vibe and figure out whether or not you can introduce something or I don't know. Like I feel like it's different for every couple or for every person. We found what worked for us through trial and error. Honestly, we had to figure it out. We had to try things, and we had to be willing to not get it right away.
Right. Um, it's funny because it's one of my next questions is how do you
What's up, Rick?
how do you recoup after that? And so today, Brandon and I got in this disagreement, and it was about we were trying to make some content for our clothing line, and we're trying to put our clothing line out there. And one thing led to another where he was uncomfortable and we could not finish the project. And so we really didn't say any mean things to each other. Brandon was just asking me like, hey, did you notice this about how I was feeling? And then I was like, conversation doesn't have to happen right now. I know we're both high strung. Um, and so one of the things Brandon said is he's like, man, this really sucks because we're about to go on live and I really don't want to have this energy between us because we usually really do have great energy between us. And
I ain't trying to be on here faking.
right. And so one of the things that I did was when he left, I was sitting there talking to my daughter and stuff like that. And then I just text Brandon and I said, I love you. And this is just another hump we're going to get over. And I said a couple other things and I was like, and I understand how you feel sometimes. And I also understand how I feel. And where's the compromise. And I really think we can get through this. And he texted me back. He's like, I love you too. And we'll try again. And one of the things that didn't used to happen is we couldn't even talk to each other like that because
Compromise and acknowledgement is huge.
yeah. Say that one more time.
I said compromise and acknowledgement is huge. If I don't feel like I did anything wrong, I'm not making an effort to fix it or apologize.
Yeah.
Which then leads to an even bigger issue, extending the problem when you
Right.
could have just talked about it and fixed it.
And some people see the word compromise or hear the word compromise and they think lose, and compromise means come together, and if you're in a relationship you're supposed to be together, so compromising shouldn't be a bad thing or have a bad connotation in your relationship. Brandon and I have to compromise every day.
I think most people feel like that acknowledges that they're wrong if they compromise, when it's not like that in every situation.
and and I look at it as, what's wrong with being wrong? It's okay with being
Perfect. Yeah, that's perfectly fine too. But most
right.
people don't like that.
Right. And most people
I ain't gonna front. You can throw me in there. Shit.
ah no, but I think you're getting better though, because you are a perfectionist and you like to do things right and you take your time. When you do things wrong, you don't like it. And so that's has been something where when I come behind and maybe correct, one of the things Brennan and I have talked about is what edifying means, which is in the Bible, and it means it's an editor. So if he writes a sentence with a lowercase c and it needs a capital C, I just come in and capitalize his C. That's it. He has to be okay with me making his sentence right and not just being okay with good.
Editing is okay, fellas.
Yeah.
Everybody want to improve. You gotta improve. You gotta stay getting better.
Right.
And
And
if you're the only one judging, that's a problem.
right. So I have a question. How do you recoup after something like this? So some people get in these conversations, they have them, and then their biggest fear is what happens afterwards, right?
That depends on how it ends, though. Like, if it's really like reconciled, then y'all should be good. But if it's still lingering and
Which might
people don't have a
happen.
full yeah, I mean, it could. People don't got a full understanding of what's what or
So
what's
what does
going
that look
on.
like between us? Tell people.
I feel like we usually, in most cases, we will talk it out until there's an understanding on both sides, or there's an acknowledgement of how the other person feels with their point of view. I might not agree with you, but I'm gonna acknowledge how you feel. And I think that's in the end, that's what most people want. They want you to acknowledge their feelings and make them valid, make them real.
How can you tell everybody, because so just to give some back, because there's a lot of people that will be in here like, he don't give a fuck about how I feel. There was a time where when I was pregnant with Jordan 9 years ago, I took crying to the extreme.
Hey, you making a run for it this year though.
It's on a total different level though. And um and so you couldn't take me seriously back in the past when I would cry or complain about stuff, but now that's different. Like the other day I was crying and you came over and you said, "What's wrong?" And I was like, "I'm happy." And you're like, "I love you." And you kissed me and stuff like that. And so how do people, men, like differentiate that, and is it okay to just ask, like, what do you need? Because there were times where you didn't even know what I needed.
I'm learning that that's huge, man. If you don't understand something or you need some clarification, just ask. They might. I'd rather you get mad at me for asking than not acknowledging or acting like I don't care about something I didn't know was wrong.
Right.
So I'm gonna ask for the especially if I got lack of knowledge. I need more information. What do you mean? What do you need from me? Them kind of questions.
Right. I even think
How
that's
do I fix it?
right.
Most people don't even know what it looks like for the person to fix the problem.
There you go.
So you gotta let me know.
Only you know what makes you feel better.
Or how to fix it.
Yeah.
What does it look like for me fixing it? Like,
And
The
I
guessing
think,
game, but
I think,
nobody wants to play the game.
yeah, and you're right. And I think that you had to also recognize what is in my capacity to fix and what is in God's capacity. Because there's some things that is not your job to fix. And so if you took, there's some things that you wouldn't even put on your back because you're like, Tiff, and not even that you said this to me, but there were things that you would even pray for me about that I didn't even know that you were praying about with your strong prayers.
And being okay to that it's not fixed right away. It can't be on your time. It gotta be on God's time. I
mm,
struggle with I struggle with that major. I want shit done right now, right now. Why it's not working right now? It's not supposed to work right now. It's gonna work when it's supposed to work.
what helped you change that, or what's something that you've been doing to help you with that, so you can realize like what right now looks like and what it actually looks like for God to move it and change it.
Journaling, having a journal, writing out my thoughts, so it's not just in my head, and I ain't just thinking about it all day by myself, going through all these different emotions. Having real conversations with myself, with God, on paper, on wax, like really getting. And that's helped me with bringing shit to you too, and having conversations with you, and like formulating my thoughts and stuff, getting it out on paper first, and then bringing it to you. So I'm making sure that I get everything in this conversation that I want to get in, and I'm not leaving stuff out. Or I'm like, damn man, I should have said this, or I done left out the best part of my argument, or whatever it is. You know how dudes be. But
Right.
journaling has been huge for me. Um it's opened up things that I didn't even know I wanted, honestly, or wanted to ask for. And then I don't know. I think I owe a lot of that to you too, though, because you have me ask myself questions that I wouldn't ask just me, but by myself. Like, so I don't know, man. You're good for me, baby.
Oh, you're so sweet. You're so sweet. I know it's late for us, and so I'm gonna wrap up with one more question because people probably I am gonna have you back because this is good. And stuff. But when you realize that you were wrong, and or when I realize I'm wrong, because you really been preaching, so I'm letting you talk. Like this ain't got nothing to do with me today. Um, but when you realize you're wrong, how do you apologize? And then how or when you've been wrong, how do you accept an apology?
When I'm wrong, I'll be honest with y'all, man. I'm still working this part of it out. Like I'm prideful, so it's hard for me to admit sometimes when I feel like I'm wrong. But um, if anything could put it into perspective, man, it's your freaking kids, dog. Like they're the most honest people on the planet. Kids give it to you the rawest, like, and you can't argue it because that's their experience, and they're with me every day. They know the ins and outs of me. So, um, I'm trying to get through it. It's it's tough, but acknowledging when I'm wrong has made me a more solid individual. I will say that. Like I'm growing.
You used to go,
My attitude. I used to just go and be like, "Fuck it, no, no, you're wrong." But I'm growing. I'm learning because looking at it from other people's perspectives gives you another way of seeing things, like maybe that you wouldn't have seen otherwise. Because I don't know everything, so I try to look at it that way too. But as far as like accepting apologies from you, or sometimes that gets hard too when you feel like people should not necessarily already know things or be privy to certain things. I think I know for myself, I can take that for granted. Like this nigga should already know this. I've been with them for so long. Why are we going through this? Well, I mean, it's you still got to work through it. Having that emotion towards that person don't necessarily fix the situation. I know with you, like, I would say that getting better with accepting apologies from you too, because people can say that they do and then be like, well, I'm still not fucking with you. I still don't want to talk to you tonight. I'm getting better with actually really accepting what you're saying to me and then letting shit go so we can just keep it pushing.
Do I apologize a lot?
You apologize. You say sorry a lot. Not necessarily always like you always have to or it's always called for, but you do say sorry a lot. Sometimes too much, I think. But
Is it hard? Is it important to know when you're accepting an apology? Because one of the things I recognize with women when we are apologizing to you guys is to know if
that's
it's
big.
genuine.
Just knowing when someone's hurt, period. I think you have to know that. I didn't always know when I hurt your feelings. And that can be huge.
I had to tell you that.
Because yeah, you did. And it was honest. And I had to take it and change it. I think some people can be there, they can be there, but not present in the relationship.
There was,
Whether that's mentally.
yeah, there was something that happened the other day, and something happened between us, and you had to apologize. But before you had to apologize, I actually had to tell you that you did something wrong because in the midst of it, you weren't really hearing me. And then I called you in. I asked, could I pray with you really quick because I knew this was going to be a hard conversation. You were looking at me like I was retarded. You sat down, you let me say what I needed to say, and then you said, "Is that all?" And I said, "Yeah." And you said, "I won't do it again." And then I said, "Okay." And I was telling somebody today, there's that space in the conversation where you say okay and I say okay, and most people are uncomfortable in that space because then they think they need to be like, well, then you should have never did it, or like it shouldn't have happened. And I had to give you the space to accept that
To
you had
acknowledge
accepted.
that. Yeah. Most people won't give you the space to acknowledge that you was wrong and you shouldn't have did it, or even being accepting of it. Like, okay, I did it and won't do it again. They won't take it for face value. Like your word ain't your word. They got to add that extra,
Yeah.
whatever it is. But once you can get to that point where there's no extra nothing after the acknowledgement, that's when you know you headed in the right direction.
And we definitely had to learn that because I felt like because I can go back and forth, that helped us where you're like, this is over. And I think sometimes you struggle with when are things going to be over? Because you used to ask me that, like, how long are you going to be on this?
Yep. Yep. But look at that was me going into it already with the wrong mindset. Damn, we gotta have another talk. Fuck. I'm trying to watch the game. When is this shit over? And honestly, if I'm being like for real with myself, those would be the ones where we would have the longest talk. And why you think I did that? Because I didn't want to do it. The more accepting I am of being vulnerable and putting myself in the positions that I'm not used to or may not necessarily be the most comfortable in, and I allow myself to go through that and come out the other end. So many good things have happened to me for when doing that, and that's what I'm seeing. So this, if there's one thing that I could say to people is don't give up. Keep there's always room for improvement. Um, I'm always trying to get better.
You
And
are.
I think that's what we're here for, man. You're supposed to get better every day.
Yeah.
I want to learn. I want to, when I'm done and I'm dead and I'm gone, I want my kids to feel like they knew their dad. They knew everything about him. I want my wife to feel like she lived a full life with me. And I can't do those things. I'm not full within myself. So, you know, I gotta get to it.
I hope that I'm going to ask you. You shared something with me the other day about something you wrote in your prayer journal. And you said, I asked God to be able to live life to the fullest like you do. And I feel like there's a lot of
But
couples. Go ahead.
I asked, what I was saying was like, for me personally, I haven't always given my full self to people. Like I've always held back little things or whatever. Like it might be stepping into this new year and moving forward. I want to give my full the full branding to everybody. You feel me? Like I want the best version of myself at all times. So that's what I'm striving to do.
That's so dope. And I really hope that as people are listening to this, that they realize and recognize you've been through hell and high water, you know. But you don't look like what you've been through, and you literally have chosen to put God first and your family first. And I get to say that I get to live with this with you, even in the midst of trials and tribulations and stuff like that. They don't look like that to us. They just look like us trying to get over something again. And
We better for it though.
we are. We definitely are. Can you tell everybody, we're going to be back, but can you tell everybody how they can get in contact with you, how they can get your gear and all these things and stuff like that? Because I know dinner is
You
ready for us.
can, you can shop everything on Grow Dash in Pains, PANIZ.com. Catch me on Instagram, grow_in pains. And the links in the bio. Got a bunch of new stuff coming for you guys. Stay tuned. Tap in with me. It's been a pleasure. Hope something helped.
Thank you so much, sweetie. I appreciate you. And everybody, you know where you can
Always.
see me. And I thank everybody for joining us. And I definitely will have Brandon back. I want him to go live from his page so he can promote his things. Usually we're sitting next together, but I'm actually glad he got to sit apart from me and be in a whole different room. I love everything that you said, honey, and wasn't expecting any of that greatness. And so
Hope y'all enjoyed.
thank you,
It's been
everybody,
a
and we'll
pleasure.
see you soon.
All right, y'all. Peace.